How's everybody doing? It's BW, the Marriage Guy. I want to thank you for tuning in for today's episode of Marriage Grind. It's a platform where it's designed to inspire couples and singles, and I hope that by you looking at this video that you are inspired by today's interview. Also, if you want to get inspired by other things that are going on, go to www.bwthemarriageguy.com or go to the YouTube channel. Just put in bw_themarriageguy.com, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. Those are other platforms that you can look us up. I have the honor and privilege of interviewing someone who is doing a great, phenomenal job of just being able to reach singles. And it's not easy being able to get people to listen in, but this guy is experiencing breakthrough. He's breaking through that barrier and showing people of how to actually date. And I saw him from a distance and I wanted to bring him in and I wanted to interview him and ask him some questions. So I got him. I got Mario Singelmann from Get Game Group. Yes, that's right. Get Game Group. Men, get some game. Anyway, I'm interviewing him right now. Give it up for Mario. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I have special guests. He is here. It's Mario Singelmann, CEO of Get Game Group. So many people, they may not know you, but you are definitely hitting the mark when it comes to reaching people, through online dating, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, you engage around 37,000 people on a regular basis. And that's saying a lot, and that's saying that you're making a mark, and you're actually doing something effective. So I wanted to kind of start from the beginning, of how all this kind of evolved, because a lot of people, when they start out to do something, a lot of people miss the beginning stages. So how did this evolve?
Okay, so I'm gonna take you back a little bit on a story of my life. All right, so here's the thing. I'm not wired like everybody else. All right. There's personality types, and everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. For me, school was always easy. I'm a rationalist. I realize that now, but I function from a place where ration, logic, reason rule my world.
Right.
I'm also, now that, I didn't know it back at the time because school systems, you don't know, but I'm prone to just understanding social dynamics, what's going on, what people are thinking, empathizing. I'm wired that way. But you're young, you don't know all these things. You just think like, oh, I do pretty well with girls.
Right.
I seem mature. But I went along this path of just doing me, and I was doing pretty well. But people don't know this about me. But people think like, as I'm the get game guy, that I'm just like this ultimate player lifestyle. But I've been married. I've been in serious relationships, and I've been divorced. I've learned the lessons.
Yeah.
And what my path was, I was basically the guy that did really well with women, got the girl that everybody wanted, and life was pretty good. Married my high school sweetheart. Had a phenomenal wife, and I'll tell you, like, she was amazing. Still to this day, we'll tell everybody, like, she was amazing, beautiful, caring, thoughtful, all these great things. But a funny thing happened along the way. When you're 18, you think you're mature. When you're 22, you think you're mature. And even for me, I consider myself of an advanced matureness, at least for a guy.
Right.
But that also meant that I didn't have very many peers that I could listen to for talking about men and women, relationships, that sort of thing. I was really susceptible to just listening to myself and figuring things out on myself, which is something that I've improved upon.
Right.
But what I realized was I got into this young, and at the time, my wife and I were a perfect couple, totally complementary, totally in sync. We had a great relationship, and we figured, why not just get married? It seems like we're doing this anyway. I love you, you love me. It's a great thing. But along the path of marriage, there was little development for me because I say little development because I was just relying on what I knew, and she we're just repeating what our parents taught us or what we've seen, what we think is acceptable, what we think works. And I'm sure we made mistakes in communication and just engaging more time with each other. But the biggest thing that I realized was, man, people change a lot in their 20s. People change a lot in their 20s. And I was going through this huge metamorphosis in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And through no fault of my wife, she's beautiful. We didn't really have issues. But I just felt like, damn, we've been together a really long time. I've been married 5 years. Can I do 50? And with a lot of self-reflection and deep thought, I was like, nah, I can't do 50. That wouldn't be right. So yeah, I went through divorce, and I've been in some other serious relationships. But what I just kind of got to the point was where like I just kept on wanting to understand more, and through successes and failures, you learn. Well, I've learned from my failures that like let's find out why things happened the way they did. Why did I react this way? Why did I believe in this? Why did she react this way? Why did she feel this? I wanted to know these answers. Why does life work out like this?
Right.
And so I'm a deeply reflective person. And along the way, when I'm trying to figure it out, I had the great fortune to cross paths with a female pickup artist who ended up now being one of my best friends.
Wait a minute. How did you get to be friends with a woman pickup artist? Like, what? Maybe some people don't know what that is, but can you explain that to them?
Okay, so first of all, a pickup artist, most people would be more familiar with the man. The man is a pickup artist where basically he goes from never having seen a girl to developing attraction, comfort, and seduction, yes. And there's an art to it. There really is. Some of those guys really have a horrible reputation, but a lot of that information is totally legit. Women are attracted to certain things. Men are attracted to certain things.
Right.
And it's basically saying, hey, like instead of fighting this, let's acknowledge some things that we have knowledge and information about and use it to our benefit. Not so much to manipulate, but to like have greater success. Why wouldn't you do that? It's it's like if Michael Jordan told you like, hey man, your jumper is okay, but if you put your elbow right here and you focus on the back of the rim, you're gonna have more success. You would listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about, right?
Right.
So pickup artists, they just have made more of a study of this science, of this art of picking up women that they don't know. And that doesn't mean that they're just like having sex with them in the first night. That's the fairy tale story that people will see and they think like that's how it is. And no, it just means that a lot of guys are going to be more successful with having conversations with women, interacting, developing a better social network. So I had one of those, but I had one that was a female, which was awesome. And so that was my lucky path. And how did it happen? Well, me being me, I'm in between relationships. And I'm on Facebook a few years back, and this girl had messaged me before, and it was just a friend request. She didn't message me; she friend requested me, and I didn't accept it because in my mind, my mentality is, this is really how I think. I don't accept just any pretty girl on my Facebook request. And, like in my mind, like you guys want to know how I think. This is really how I think. I think like I've got options. I'm not needy. And, I don't just have to accept. I'm sure a lot of guys would love to accept all these pretty girls. And don't get me wrong. Right. But with her, I was just like, like another one. And a few months later, actually, when I was really needing someone to bounce things off of, because I couldn't come to these answers myself. I was stuck in a rut. And everybody gets there. As much as I know, everybody falls into a rut where it's like a lawyer. You're your own. You can't represent yourself necessarily all the time. You need somebody else for an outside perspective. And right about this point, I was like, I was pulling my hair out, trying to figure out life, trying to figure out patterns and putting it all together. And she decided to message me again months later. This time it wasn't a friend request. She messaged me, hey, asshole, accept my friend request. It's in your best interest. I read that and I was like, accept. You're totally in. And I was like, I love this girl's attitude.
That's all she had to do was be straightforward with you just like that?
She said, "Hey, asshole, accept my friend request. It's in your best interest." And for me, like, I'm really blunt, honest, to the point person, and she is too. But someone like that, I want to get to know that person.
Right.
And it took all of 5 minutes of us just chatting back and forth before we're just like, oh man, we really have like connection, like some things to talk about and discuss. And she ended up becoming someone that really mentored me a lot in female perspective. And and above all, she's this personality type that complements mine. She's an ENTP, and she's an extreme ENTP. So she's like, these are kind of the creative minds, the people with all the idea people. And she has a great knack for perspective. So she can think about, if you have this scenario, it could play out in 10 ways. With these variables, it could play out in 20 different ways. And what she really did was she taught me to work on that skill myself. I had it, but not as strong. And so I was like, shoot, this is a really great skill. Like, basically, I'm thinking about more perspectives. I'm thinking like a woman. I'm thinking like a man. Let's put them together. Let's put down all the variables and see what total amount of options are there. What are all the possibilities?
Right.
And so that really took me to a whole new level. And it also, so I was gaining a woman's perspective. I was gaining the ability to refine my ability to go outside myself and put myself in other perspectives and possibilities.
Right.
But the third thing that I was getting was I was getting a peer. All right, I never had someone growing up that I could talk to about, men, women things, sex, relationships, how life works. And I found that person that I respected, and I could trust her input. So it was really awesome. I had a really great experience, and to this day, we're still very close. She's just kind of behind the scenes right now, not really in the public view, but she's outstanding and taught me a lot and influenced me tremendously. But
Right.
yeah, man, I took that path, and like I just never stopped, because it's like one of those things, like probably you're on the same path too, where once you get a little bit of information, things make more sense. And when things make more sense, you're just on this pursuit of, I want to gain more knowledge, more knowledge. So that's where I went. So probably since my late 20s, I've been on this quest to understand women, men, society, and life, all these different things.
And I find it interesting that you were married for 5 years.
Yeah, together with her much longer. Together since we were 17.
Wow. So together with her since you were 17, married
Basically
for
10
5
years.
years, 8 years.
Basically 10 years together.
Okay. So in 10 years, and then right in that moment, you had a moment where you just knew that, like, I can't do this.
Well, I wouldn't. I'll say, you have that moment where like everybody knows what they really feel. They just have this period of time where they're denying it. They're trying to cover it up and mask it. And I just went into a really reflective time, and I won't say that I made this decision in 5 minutes or a week. It probably took me a good 2 months of just hammering it out, like, where am I? What am I doing? And ultimately, there's that question of, you've done 5 years of marriage,
Yeah.
commitment, like before then, like, this is commitment. I was just growing into a different person. She was growing into a different person in her 20s. Very much I was into my professional life. I was changing how I thought. And one thing that I was thinking about today is, in the world, there's this concept of polarity, of, negative, positive, black, white, up, down. And I don't like necessarily that sense of opposites attract, but I think that complements are what we are striving for, complements that make something bigger, better, more beautiful. And what I was finding was, like I told you, like, I think we changed a lot in our 20s for sure. I was changing, so my complement was changing. So who I was desiring to be around was someone different. And I'll say someone that thinks a little differently, acts a little differently. But, like, if we're going by, say, superficial actions, like, was she loving? Yes. Was she caring? Yes. Was she nurturing? Yes. Was she someone that was good at home? All these different things. Yeah, you checked it all off, except my compliment changed. And I think hers did too.
Right.
So we learned a lot from that. I know I did. That's all I'm in control of.
And you know what? Like, the funny thing, like, there's a lot of people who, like, might be in your situation,
For sure.
but they might have felt that doubt like before they got married. So they might have ignored the thoughts before they got married, and then they went along with it, and then they're revisiting it a couple years later, like, man, I should have listened. Like, did you ever feel like that?
Um,
Was that
no,
ever?
no, no. I mean, you know what? I had like I'll say I had some pre-marriage jitters like the week before.
Right.
But as a whole, I was really confident. I mean, like you have to understand that the way I am, I've been measuring up women since I was 5 years old. You know, of what value are you? Are you my type physically? Are you my type mentally? Are you my type as far as just all these other things that where we could mesh? I've been doing this to girls since I was 5 years old.
Hey.
So by the time I reached my wife, I was like, oh man, she's just crushing every other girl I've ever met. I've never met anyone like this. I was like, so I felt really good. I was like, I have never met anyone that gets me, that gets what I need her to get, you know, like culturally, socially, she connected in all these ways. So at the time, I'll totally say like I didn't have those issues. I felt like we were perfect together, and I think we were. I just think it changed.
Right.
With other guys, I don't know that they had that sort of clarity. Here's what I run into, and here's where I'll say some things that make people uncomfortable because it's a harsh truth. Harsh truth that I believe in is that most people are settlers. So most people don't have the knowledge of what they want, what they need, what they deserve, what even they bring to the table to a relationship.
Yeah.
So when they're coming from a place of, you can call it scarcity, failure, rejection, inexperience, guess what? It feels good when someone's like, I like you. I will have sex with you consistently when you haven't had that. You know, when you haven't had that validation, when you haven't had that company, when you haven't had that partner, it feels like, man, I've been wanting this. And, you know, let's face it, there's some guys that are like, man, I'm struggling in high school. I don't have all the girls. It's going to be different in college. And then they get to college and they're like, man, I'm struggling in college, but it's going to be different once I get this career going. I'm going to have the money and then I'm going to have the girls. And then they get the career. And guess what? They're still not the person that gets the person that they desire. So there's this panic mode of, I didn't do it in high school. I didn't do it in college. I'm not doing it out of college now that I'm in my professional life. This girl is talking to me. She seems pretty nice. Maybe she's not physically my type. Maybe she annoys me when she chews with her mouth open. Maybe I'm not interested in what all the geeky stuff she's into. Or maybe she doesn't want kids or different relationship goals. And we put up with it and we're like, I'll make it work. And we're like, I've got this in the bag. Or I could go with door number 2, which I don't know how it ends. It might be better, but I don't know. It could be worse. At least I know what I have here. Here I have sex once a week. Here I have a girl that's like I can have a date and people can see me publicly like he's socially acceptable. Look, he's got dates. He's got a wife or he's got a girlfriend, and you know, like, or I'm, you know, like they're uncomfortable being I'm the single guy or I'm the single girl.
I'm the third or fifth wheel.
You know, like, and they're uncomfortable, and it's a form of settling to me. Or like you don't think that you can get what you want, so you're like, I guess I'll go for this. So it's difficult for them to make a leap, and basically I think it's a leap of faith in themselves. And when people are afraid to do that, they will settle, and I think that leads to a lot of unhappy relationships and marriages that are destined to fail or be unhappy or be unhealthy. That makes sense?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up the whole settler part because I feel that there are a lot of people that I work with or that accept my counseling, and
Yes.
I know that they're settling.
Oh
And
yeah.
to tell them that they're settling, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm not accepting it. No, I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
The honest truth is you're with this person because they make you feel good. They don't tell you the things you need to hear.
Yeah.
They're not around you for the right reasons. They're just there, and you're allowing them to be there. So that causes me to think about my next question.
Sure.
What should men and women focus on to prepare for a relationship? Like, what are some things you feel that they need to work on?
Themselves.
Can you go into specifics
Flat
about
out. Sure. Themselves. All right. So in your life, in my life, in everybody's life, we grow up and we develop We follow the patterns that our mother and father or whatever family parental unit demonstrated for us. And that's what we think is normal. Along our path, we've also experienced various trauma that will either be discarded or we'll carry it around like baggage for the rest of our lives. And it'll influence our actions, our relationships, our progress. And so we basically we have something really pure, and then on top of it, through the years, through negative experiences, it's like we build this plaque on top of it. And what I think that we have to do is we have to look at ourselves and understand who we are, what we want, and what we want to become, what fulfills us before we can offer anything to anyone else in a relationship.
Yeah.
Uh, Fine example I had of that was a good friend of mine. She's a woman. She's very beautiful. She's very intelligent, great sense of humor, and she has guys that want to go out with her, but the guys maybe that she really, really wants, things don't work out. And when she was asking me, she was like, she's saying like, hey, like I don't get it. Like why is it that like I have guys that want to go out with me, but the guys that I really want or really wanted to work out with, it doesn't. And I just looked at her. I was like, you're looking for answers in the wrong place. You're looking for someone else to be different, whereas you were the one that needs to improve yourself. And what she needed to improve upon was she had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol.
Oh
And
my gosh. Oh,
so her relationship with alcohol was destroying, her ability to be there for other people, to be consistent, to be relatable, to be empathetic, to be someone attractive even to them. Because sometimes she'd be a mess. And I told her, I was like, these guys you're going to fail with all your relationships, because you're giving them an inferior product. You're giving them a lesser version of yourself. What you need to do is prioritize yourself and address your weaknesses, build them up. You need to discover things that you need to let go so that you don't waste that energy. And whatever you have to work on, improve yourself. Like take yourself, if you're a 5 out of 10 out of your potential, you need to knock yourself up to that 8 to 9 range. And that's where you could be better for a relationship. You don't have to fully conquer self-mastery and self-actualization to be good for somebody. You can be a work in progress, but be a work in progress at eight or above, rather than being at a 3, 4, 5. You're bringing something that's just rocky, inconsistent, and asking for something unhealthy or negative to happen in a relationship. So I think people really do need to work on number one first, and I almost think it's people would put words in my mouth and be like, "You're telling people to be selfish,"
right.
and I'd be like, "Yes, I am." However, I'm telling them this from a very healthy place. All right. A great example is whenever we fly, we sit through the emergency procedure, and what do they tell us? They tell us, all right, parents, if you're when in emergency procedures, I want you to put the mask on over your face and then put it over your child. Because for you to be of any assistance to anyone else, to be anyone's assistance, support, love, someone that they can count on, you have to be stable yourself. You have to be strong yourself. So you have to take care of yourself first. And then I think that you have something to offer others. And I also think who you will attract will be impacted. Someone who's got their issues, that their trauma, their put it this way, like give me the choice between dating two similar women, physically the same, career wise are the same, but one has all sorts of issues with abandonment and emotional issues, trauma that is going to be baggage for the next boyfriend, trust issues, you name it. Or you have someone who's like had the same scenario but been like, you know what, I can't keep treating people like they're my ex-boyfriend. Like my issues are my issues. Like actually what I have in front of me is a guy that's given me no signs to be insecure about. He's given me all sorts of reassurances. I feel safe and comfortable. So I should probably go with that until I receive anything different. I'm telling you, I'm going to take that girl every time. So if you're an inferior product of yourself, you're going to lose out. And I do think life, dating, and the professional world are all competitive. If you're not your best, someone else is knocking on that door for the guy that you're trying to date or for the girl that you're trying to ask out on a date. It's competitive. So number one, you work on yourself.
Oh man, like I like how you said that. Everywhere you go, there's always competition.
Yeah.
Always. And it makes me think about when people get out of relationships and it turns for the worse, it goes south, and people start bashing their exes. And then they go in this relationship that you mentioned, they go in a relationship with baggage.
Yeah.
They start talking about what their ex used to do, what their ex didn't do. And next thing you know, this guy has to live up to this woman or guy, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who, they have to live up with what the other person experienced with the other person.
Sure.
So you mentioned on your website the importance of forgiving your ex.
Yeah.
Why is it important to forgive your ex?
I'll give you a few reasons. All right. Number one, when you forgive your ex, you're basically rearranging the way you use your energy.
Oh.
All right. Instead of your energy being applied to something negative on a day in and day out basis, like, I'm so angry at this person still, this person hurt me, this person cheated on me or let me down. Instead, you're free to release that energy, which feels great. And then you can take that energy and apply it to something constructive. All right. So like, instead of being like, I'm so angry, you'll be like, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to go outside and walk the dog. I'm going to go start a new hobby. I'm going to go to the gym and work on myself. Instead, mental energy is energy. If you're expending your mental energy on something negative, you're making a poor decision. So I definitely think that it's good for you to let go of that and rearrange that energy. Number two, if you hold on to this resentment and image of your ex, you're stuck. Are you ready for your next relationship? No way, man. No way. So what you need to do is you need to make room for something new and better to come in there. All right. Otherwise, it's like you got this parking spot in your mind reserved for unhealthy ex thoughts.
Oh.
So what you want to do is you want to take those thoughts, throw them out. And what you're going to do is you're going to replace them with some thoughts of like, I'm more healthy, I feel good about myself, going to be in a better place. And what you're going to do is you're going to make room for something more attractive to come along. If you're stuck on being negative, and you know how people can walk around in their daily lives and they have this resting bee face, and they're unhappy, or it's transparent in their energy when they walk in a room, or you've let it go, so you have this release and you're more of yourself, and when you walk in a room, your energy is different, the way you carry yourself is different, who you're going to attract is different. So when you release all that negative stuff about holding on to that resentment about somebody or what happened, you're going to make room for something better to come along. Otherwise, your parking spots are full. And that's really important. So that's a few ways that forgiveness is really important. I also just think, man, there's so much. It's so therapeutic to release that negativity.
Yeah.
If you're holding on to that day in and day out, it's eating you up. Now, I think this is a really hard lesson to learn. Don't get me wrong. It's a simple lesson, but it's not as easy as people think. You can't just be like, all right, I forgive my ex. You can't fool that inner mind, that inner voice within. It's like you're saying out loud, like, I forgive my ex. She cheated on me. She let me down, or she wasn't everything that I wanted her to be. Forgiveness is a different conversation. Forgiveness is I think you're acknowledging the truth about the situation. So you're like, all right, things didn't work out. It would have been nice if I didn't get cheated on or if I wasn't let down. But you know what? I actually learned a great lesson. I learned something about what I want, what I need, what I deserve. So you turn that negative into a positive. Like people don't learn as much from their successes as they do from their failures. So you should make a large effort for whatever you're holding on to and you need to forgive somebody for. That's a life lesson waiting to happen. So you need to learn how to let that go. It's a life lesson,
right?
That I really think that you're being offered, because what you need to do is turn that into like, how can I benefit from this? How is it possible that I could be broken down, heartbroken, let down, at whatever level? What can I take out of this and be stronger or learn and be improved? And I think in every case, when you're forgiving somebody, you're mastering a lesson. And that'll make you stronger. So I'm really a big fan. It's not just as simple as like, we'll replace that negative with a positive. I really think that it's a waste of energy. There are lessons to be learned from your failures, which is a positive. but it's really deep down. Um, like you got to make room for
Right.
something positive to come in your life for sure. So that's why I'm a big fan of forgiveness. I've practiced it myself, and beyond that, it helps me to it when I was going through my forgiveness period. I just have to understand that not everybody is like me. So when you get to that point, like I'm learning lessons. Like, why am I so upset? I'm upset because I was disappointed. I'm upset because someone didn't behave or act or react the way I would have. But the lessons that I came up with is like, well, am I expecting someone else to think like me? I didn't when I was attracted to somebody, I was attracted to the fact that they're different from me. I didn't want somebody just like me. So like you have to remind yourself, like, here's a great lesson that I also had to learn from there. Accept people for who they are. Some people are a ball of energy and they're fun and they're amazing. And then sometimes they might be a little bit emotionally a roller coaster type more than others. I really think that you have to accept that about somebody. And if you're trying to change them, are you trying to do minor changes like, hey, you could do this a little bit better? Or are you offering changes, suggesting changes to them like, like this is really not good about you. You're bad because of this. Like rephrase that. So different ways of accepting who people are. I think it's really important. So forgiveness,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, everybody.
Mario said some good things that I hope is going to inspire you to actually act. And next week's video is going to be nothing different. I hope that this inspires you to actually act if you're single on what you can do to prepare yourself for a relationship. And just like Mario said, it's going to take you actually working on yourself. And it's not being selfish. It's about taking that time to get yourself in a better place so you can be, a better asset to someone else the next time you get in a relationship. So do us a favor. Next week, we're going to show part 2 of the video. Make sure to look out for it. It's going to drop on Monday morning. I hope to see you next week. Thank you for being a supporter.